Good morning, folks. Hello, family. This is Raymond X Prophet coming to you once again from my apartment living room here in sunny Ocala, Florida. And today is your day. Today is Tuesday, October 20th, 2020 at 10:10 a.m. And this is the word for today, part 5 for May 21st, 2020. Once again, the word for today, part 5, May 21st, 2020. And we're going to go ahead and start with the first journal entry. I think it's the first of 3 or 4. This first journal entry is a bit lengthy, so just kind of hang in there with me. And today, on this day, we're going to talk about that. So on May 20th, 2020 at 7:04 p.m., Urim and Thummim. Urim and Thummim on May 20th, 2020 at 7:04 p.m. And let's go ahead and begin the book of Exodus, chapter 28, verse 30. You shall put in the breastplate of judgment, the Urim and Thummim, and they shall be on Aaron's heart when he goes in before Yahweh. Aaron shall bear the judgment of the children of Israel on his heart before Yahweh continually. Leviticus chapter 8, verse 8. He placed the breastplate on him. He put the Urim and Thummim in the breastplate. The book of Numbers, chapter 27, verse 21. He shall stand before Eleazar the priest, who shall inquire for him by the judgment of the Urim before Yahweh. At his word they shall go out, and at his word they shall come in, both he and all the children of Israel with him, even all the congregation. Deuteronomy chapter 33, verse 8. About Levi he said, Your Thummim and your Urim are with your godly one, whom you proved at Massah, with whom you contended at the water of Meribah. Judges chapter 1, verse 1. After the death of Joshua, the children of Israel asked of Yahweh, saying, Who shall go up for us first against the Canaanites, to fight against them? Judges, chapter 20, verses 18 and 23. The children of Israel rose, went up to Bethel, and asked counsel of God. They asked, Who shall go up for us first to battle against the children of Benjamin? Yahweh said, Judah first. The children of Israel went before Yahweh until evening, and they asked Yahweh, saying, Shall again draw near to battle against the children of Benjamin, my brother? Yahweh said, Go up against him. Verse 23. 1 Samuel chapter 23, verse 9. David knew that Saul was devising mischief against him. He said to Abiathar the priest, Bring the ephod here. 1 Samuel chapter 28, verse 6. When Saul inquired of Yahweh, Yahweh didn't answer him by dreams, by Urim, or by prophets. 1 Samuel chapter 30, verse 7. David said to Abiathar the priest, the son of Ahimelech, Please bring the ephod here to me. Abiathar brought the ephod to David. Ezra chapter 2, verse 63. The governor told them that they should not eat of the most holy things until a priest stood up to serve with Urim and Thummim. Nehemiah chapter 7, verse 65. The governor told them not to eat of the most holy things until a priest stood up to minister with Urim and Thummim. Genesis chapter 28, verses 12 through 15. He dreamed and saw a stairway set upon the earth, and its top reached to heaven. Behold, the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. Behold, Yahweh stood above it and said, I am Yahweh, the God of Abram your father, and the God of Isaac. I will give the land you lie unto you and your offspring. Your offspring will be as dust of the earth, and you will spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south. In you and your offspring, all the families of the earth will be blessed. Behold, I am with you, and will keep you wherever you go, and will bring you again into this land. For I will not leave you until I have done that which I have spoken of to you. Genesis chapter 46, verses 2 through 4. God spoke to Israel in the visions of the night and said, Jacob, Jacob. He said, Here I am. He said, I am the God of your father. Don't be afraid to go down to Egypt, for there I will make you of a great nation. I will go down with you into Egypt. I will also surely bring you up again. Joseph's hand will close your eyes. Genesis chapter 49, verses 8 through 10. Judah, your brothers will praise you. Your hand will be on the neck of your enemies. Your father's sons will bow down before you. Judah is a lion's cub. From the prey, my son, you have gone up. He stooped down, he crouched as a lion, as a lioness. Who will rouse him up? The scepter will not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until he comes to whom it belongs. The obedience of the peoples will be to him. Exodus chapter 8, verse 8. Then Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron and said, Entreat Yahweh that he take away the frogs from me and from my people, and I will let the people go that they may sacrifice to Yahweh. Exodus chapter 17, verse 7. He called the name of the place Massah and Meribah, because the children of Israel quarreled, and because they tested Yahweh, saying, Is Yahweh among us or not? Exodus chapter 28, verses 15 through 29 and 36. You shall make a breastplate of the judgment, the work of the skillful workman. Like the work of an ephod you shall make it, of gold, of blue, of purple, and scarlet, and fine twined linen you shall make it. It shall be square and folded double, a span shall be its length, and a span its width. You shall set in settings of stones, 4 rows of stones. A row of ruby, topaz, and beryl shall be the first row. In the second row, a turquoise, a sapphire, and an emerald. In the third row, a jacinth, an agate, and an amethyst. In the fourth row, a chrysolite, an onyx, and a jasper. They shall be enclosed in gold in their settings. The stones shall be according to the names of the children of Israel, 12. According to their names, like the engravings of a signet, every one according to his name. They shall be for the 12 tribes. You shall make on the breastplate chains like cords, of braided work of pure gold. You shall make on the breastplate 2 rings of gold, and shall put the 2 rings on the 2 ends of the breastplate. You shall put the 2 braided chains of gold and the 2 rings at the ends of the breastplate. The other 2 ends of the 2 braided chains you shall put on the 2 settings, and put them on the shoulder straps of the ephod in its forepart. You shall make 2 rings of gold, and you shall put them on the 2 ends of the breastplate, on its edge, which is toward the side of the ephod inward. You shall make 2 rings of gold, and shall put them on the 2 shoulder straps of the ephod underneath, in its forepart, closed by its coupling above the skillfully woven band of the ephod. They shall bind the breastplate by its rings to the rings of the ephod with a lace of blue, that it may be on the skillfully woven band of the ephod, and that the breastplate may not swing out from the ephod. Aaron shall bear the names of the children of Israel in the breastplate of judgment on his heart, when he goes into the holy place, for a memorial before Yahweh continually. You shall make a plate of pure gold and engrave on it, like the engravings of a signet, holy to Yahweh. Exodus 39, chapter 39, verses 8 through 21. He made the breastplate, the work of a skillful workman, like the work of an ephod, of gold, of blue, purple, scarlet, and fine twined linen. It was square. They made the breastplate double, its length was a span, and its width a span being double. They set in 4 rows of stones. A row of ruby, topaz, and beryl was the first row. In the second row, a turquoise, a sapphire, and an emerald. In the third row, a jacinth, an agate, and amethyst. In the fourth row, a chrysolite, an onyx, and a jasper. They were enclosed in gold settings. The stones were according to the names of the children of Israel, 12 according to their names, like the engravings of a signet, every one according to his name, for the 12 tribes. They made on the breastplate chains like cords, a braided work of pure gold. They made 2 settings of gold and 2 gold rings, and put the 2 rings in the 2 ends of the breastplate. They put the 2 braided chains of gold in the 2 rings at the ends of the breastplate. The other 2 ends of the 2 braided chains they put on the 2 settings, and put them on the shoulder straps of the ephod and its front. They made 2 rings of gold, and put them on the 2 ends of the breastplate on its edge, which was toward the side of the ephod inward. They made 2 more rings of gold, and put them on the 2 shoulder straps of the ephod underneath, in its front, closed by its coupling, above the skillfully woven band of the ephod. They bound the breastplate by its rings to the rings of the ephod with a lace of blue, that it might be on the skillfully woven band of the ephod, and that the breastplate might not come loose from the ephod, as Yahweh commanded Moses. Leviticus chapter 2, verses 3 and 10. That which is left of the meal offering shall be Aaron's and his sons. It is the most holy part of the offerings of Yahweh made by fire. That which is left of the meal offering shall be Aaron's and his sons. It is the most holy part of the offerings of Yahweh made by fire. Leviticus chapter 6, verses 17 and 29. It shall not be baked with yeast. I have given it as their portion my offerings made by fire. It is most holy, as are the sin offering and the trespass offering. Every male among the priests shall eat of it. It is most holy. Leviticus chapter 7, verses 16, 19, and 20. But if the sacrifice of his offering is a vow or a freewill offering, it shall be eaten on the day that he offers his sacrifice. On the next day, what remains of it shall be eaten. The meat that touches any unclean shall not be eaten, but shall be burned with fire. As for the meat, everyone who is clean may eat it. But the soul who eats of the meat of the sacrifice of peace offerings that belongs to Yahweh, having his uncleanness on him, that soul shall be cut off from his people. Leviticus chapter 21, verse 7. They shall not marry a woman who is a prostitute or profane. A priest shall not marry a woman divorced from her husband, for he is holy to his God. Numbers chapter 12, verse 6. He said, Now hear my words. If there is a prophet among you, I, Yahweh, will make himself known to him in a vision. I will speak with him in a dream. Numbers chapter 16, verse 5. He said to Korah and all his company, In the morning Yahweh will show who are his, and who is holy, and will cause them to come near to him. Even him who he shall choose, he will cause to come near to him. Numbers chapter 20, verses 13 and 24. These are the waters of Meribah, because the children of Israel strove with Yahweh, and he was sanctified in them. Aaron shall be gathered to his people, for he shall not enter into the land which I have given to the children of Israel, because you rebelled against my word at the waters of Meribah. Numbers chapter 27, verses 5, 20, and 22. Moses brought their cause before Yahweh. You shall give authority to him, that all the congregation of the children of Israel may obey. Moses did as Yahweh commanded him. He took Joshua and set him before Eleazar the priest, and before all the congregation. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 16. You shall not tempt Yahweh your God as you tempted him in Massah. Deuteronomy chapter 8, verses 2, 3, and 16. You shall remember all the way which Yahweh your God has led you these 40 years in the wilderness, that he might humble you, to test you, to know what was in your heart, whether you would keep his commandments or not. He humbled you, allowed you to be hungry, and fed you with manna, which you didn't know, neither did your fathers know, that he might teach you that man does not live by bread only, but man lives by every word that proceeds out of Yahweh's mouth. Who fed you in the wilderness with manna, which your fathers didn't know, that he might humble you, that he might prove you to do you good at your latter end. The book of Joshua, chapter 7, verses 6 and 7. Joshua tore his clothes and fell to the earth on his face before Yahweh's ark until the evening, he and the elders of Israel, and they put dust on their heads. Joshua said, Alas, Lord Yahweh, why have you brought this people over the Jordan at all to deliver us in the hand of the Amorites, to cause us to perish? I wish that we had been content and lived beyond the Jordan. Joshua chapter 9, verse 14. I apologize for that, folks. Joshua chapter 9, verse 14. The men sampled their provisions and didn't ask counsel from Yahweh's mouth. Joshua chapter 18, verse 1. The whole congregation of the children of Israel assembled themselves together at Shiloh and set up a tent of meeting there. The land was subdued before them. Joshua chapter 24, verses 29 and 30. After these things, Joshua the son of Nun, the servant of Yahweh, died, being 110 years old. They buried him in the border of his inheritance in Timnath-Serah, which is in the hill country of Ephraim, on the north of the mountain of Gash. Judges chapter 1, verses 2 and 27. Yahweh said, Judah shall go up, behold, I have delivered the land into his hand. Manasseh didn't drive out the inhabitants of Beth Shean and his towns, nor Tanakh and his towns, nor the inhabitants of Dor and his towns, nor the inhabitants of Ibleam and his towns, nor the inhabitants of Megiddo and his towns, but the Canaanites would dwell in that land. Judges chapter 2, verse 21. I also will no longer drive out any of the nations that Joshua left when he died from before them. Judges chapter 3, verse 1. Now these are the nations which Yahweh left, to test Israel by them, even as many as had not known all the wars of Canaan. Judges chapter 18, verse 31. So they set up for themselves Micah's engraved image, which he had made, and it remained all the time that God's house was in Shiloh. Judges chapter 19, verse 18. He said to him, We are passing from Bethlehem, Judah, to the farther side of the hill country of Ephraim. I am from there, and I went to Bethlehem, Judah. I am going to Yahweh's house, and there is no one who has taken me into his house. Judges, chapter 20, verses 7, 17, 19, 22, 24, 26, 27. Behold, your children of Israel, all of you, give here your advice and counsel. The men of Israel, besides Benjamin, were counted 400,000 men who drew sword. All these were men of war. The children of Israel rose up in the morning and encamped against Gibeah. The people, the men of Israel, encouraged themselves and set the battle again in array in the place where they set themselves in array the first day. The children of Israel came near against the children of Benjamin the second day. Then all the children of Israel and all the people went up and came to Bethel and wept and sat before Yahweh and fasted that day until evening. Then they offered burnt offerings and peace offerings before Yahweh. The children of Israel asked Yahweh, for the ark of the covenant was God was there in those days. 1 Samuel chapter 2, verse 28. Didn't I choose him out of all the tribes of Israel to be my priest, to go up to my altar to burn incense, to wear an ephod before me? Didn't I give to the house of your father all the offerings of the children of Israel made by fire? 1 Samuel chapter 11, verse 4. Then the messengers came to Gibeah of Saul and spoke these words in the ears of the people. And all the people lifted up their voice and wept. 1 Samuel chapter 14, verses 18, 19, and 37. Saul said to Ahiah, Bring God's ark here, for God's ark was with the children of Israel at the time. While Saul talked to the priest, the tumult that was in the camp of the Philistines went on and increased. And Saul said to the priest, Withdraw your hand. Saul asked counsel of God, Shall I go down after the Philistines? Will he deliver them into the hand of Israel? But he didn't answer him that day. 1 Samuel chapter 22, verses 10, 20, and 21. He inquired of Yahweh for him, gave him food, and gave him the sword of Goliath the Philistine. One of the sons of Amalek, the son of Ahitub, named Abiathar, escaped and fled after David. Abiathar told David that Saul had slain Yahweh's priests. 1 Samuel chapter 23, verses 2 through 8 and 10. Therefore David inquired of Yahweh, saying, Shall I go and strike these Philistines? Yahweh said to David, Go strike the Philistines and save Keilah. David's men said to him, Behold, we are afraid here in Judah. How much more than if we go to Keilah against the armies of the Philistines? Then David inquired of Yahweh yet again. Yahweh answered him and said, Arise, go down to Keilah, for I will deliver the Philistines into your hand. David and his men went to Keilah and fought with the Philistines, and brought away their livestock, and killed them with a great slaughter. So David saved the inhabitants of Keilah. When Abiathar, the son of Amalek, fled to David to Keilah, he came down with an ephod in his hand. Saul was told that David had come to Keilah. Saul said, God has delivered him into my hand, for he is shut in by entering into a town that has gates and bars. Saul summoned all the people of the war to go down to Keilah to besiege David and his men. Then David said, O Yahweh, the God of Israel, your servant has surely heard that Saul seeks to come to Keilah to destroy the city for my sake. 1 Samuel chapter 28, verses 5 and 15. When Saul saw the army of the Philistines, he was afraid, and his heart trembled greatly. Samuel said to Saul, Why have you disturbed me to bring me up? Saul answered, I am very distressed, for the Philistines make war against me, and God has departed from me and answers me no more by prophets or by dreams. Therefore I have called you, that you may make known to me what shall I do. 2 Samuel chapter 21, verse 1. There was a famine in the days of David for 3 years, year after year, and David sought the face of Yahweh. Yahweh said, It is for Saul and for his bloody house, because he put the Gibeonites to death. 2 Samuel chapter 22, verse 42. They looked, but there was no one to save, even to Yahweh, but he didn't answer them. 1 Kings chapter 2, verse 26. To Abiathar the priest, the king said, Go to Anathoth to your own fields, for you are worthy of death. For you are worthy of death, but I will not at this time put you to death, because you bore the Lord Yahweh's ark before David my father, and because you were afflicted in all which my father was afflicted. 1 Chronicles chapter 10, verse 14. and didn't inquire of Yahweh, therefore he killed him, and turned the kingdom over to David the son of Jesse. 2 Chronicles, chapter 23, verse 6. But let no one come into Yahweh's house except the priests and those who minister are the Levites. They shall come in, for they are holy, but all the people shall follow Yahweh's instructions. Ezra, chapter 2, verse 64. The whole assembly together was 42,360. Nehemiah, chapter 7, verses 64, 66, and 70. These searched for their genealogical records, but couldn't find them. Therefore they were deemed disqualified and removed from the priesthood. The whole assembly together was 42,360. Some from among the heads of fathers' households gave to the work. The governor gave to the treasury 1,000 derricks of gold, 50 basins, and 530 priests' garments. Nehemiah chapter 8, verse 9. Nehemiah, who was the governor, Ezra the priest and scribe, and the Levites who taught the people said to all the people, Today is holy to Yahweh your God. Don't mourn, nor weep, for all the people wept when they heard the words of the law. Nehemiah chapter 10, verse 1. Now those who were sealed were Nehemiah the governor, the son of Hakaliah, and Zedekiah. Psalm 74, verse 9. We see no miraculous signs. There is no longer any prophet. I'll do this again. Psalm 74, verse 9. We see no miraculous signs. There is no longer any prophet. Neither is there among us anyone who knows how long. Neither is there among us anyone who knows how long. Psalm 78, verses 34 through 36. When he killed them, then they inquired after him. They returned and sought God earnestly. They remembered that God was their rock, the Most High, their Redeemer. But they flattered him with their mouth and lied to him with their tongue. Psalm 106, verse 16. They envied Moses also in the camp, and Aaron, Yahweh's saint. Proverbs chapter 1, verse 24, 27, and 28. Because I have called and you refused, I stretched out my hand, and no one paid attention. When calamity overtakes you like a storm, when your disaster comes on like a whirlwind, when distress and anguish come on you, then they will call on me, but I will not answer. They will seek me diligently, but they will not find me. Song of Solomon, chapter 8, verse 6. Set me as a seal in your heart, as a seal on your arm, for love is strong as death. Jealousy is a scroll of Sheol. Its flashes are flashes of fire, a very flame of Yahweh. Lamentations chapter 2, verse 9. Her gates have sunk into the ground. He has destroyed and broken her bars. Her king and her princes are among the nations where the law is not. Yes, her prophets find no vision from Yahweh. Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 3. Son of man, speak to the elders of Israel and tell them, the Lord Yahweh says, Is it to inquire of me that you have come? As I live, says the Lord Yahweh, I will not be inquired of you. Hosea chapter 3, verse 4. For the children of Israel shall live many days without king, without prince, without sacrifice, without sacred stone, and without ephods or idols. Hosea chapter 5, verse 15. I will go and return to my place until they acknowledge their offense and seek my face. In their affliction they will seek me earnestly. The book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 28. It will happen afterward that I will pour out my spirit on all flesh, and your sons and your daughters will prophesy. Your old men will dream dreams. Your young men will see visions. Micah chapter 3, verse 7. The seers shall be disappointed, and the diviners confounded. Yes, they shall cover all their lips, for there is no answer from God. Zechariah chapter 6, verse 13. He will build Yahweh's temple. He will bear the glory, and will sit and rule on his throne. He will be a priest on his throne. The council of peace will be between them both. Malachi chapter 2, verses 6 and 7. The law of truth was in his mouth, and unrighteousness was not found in his lips. He walked with me in peace and uprightness, and turned many away from iniquity. For the priest's lips should keep knowledge, and they should seek the law in his mouth, for he is the messenger of Yahweh of armies. 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 11 through 12. Our mouth is open to you, Corinthians, our heart is enlarged. You are not restricted by us, but you are restricted by your own afflictions. 2 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 3. I say this not to condemn you, for I have said before that you are in our hearts to die together and live together. 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 15. I will most gladly spend and be spent for your souls. If I love you more abundantly, am I loved the less? Okay, folks and family, the Spotify worship song I have for today, Grace City featuring Chase Wagner, Heaven's Well, the live version. Heaven's Well, the live version by Grace City featuring Chase Wagner. And I'll post both these songs in the description box below, both the Spotify track and also the YouTube video link you see listed here. Okay, folks and family, the next journal entry I have for you on May 20th, 2020 at 9:49 p.m. during worship. Heart of Worship. This is a song. Heart of Worship, the song. Let's begin with Psalm 138, verse 1. I'll give you thanks with my whole heart. Before the gods, I will sing praises to you. Exodus chapter 22, verse 28. You shall not blaspheme God, nor curse a ruler of your people. Psalm 9, verse 1. I will give thanks to Yahweh with my whole heart. I will tell all of your marvelous works. Psalm 82, verses 1 and 6. God presides in the great assembly. He judges among the gods. I said, you are gods. All of you are sons of the Most High. Psalm 86, verses 12 and 13. I will praise you, Lord, my God, with my whole heart. I will glorify your name forevermore. For your loving kindness is great toward me. Delivered my soul from the lowest Sheol. Psalm 95, verse 3. For Yahweh is a great God, a great King above all gods. Psalm 96, verse 4. For Yahweh is great and greatly to be praised. He is to be feared above all gods. Psalm 97, verse 7. Let all of them be ashamed who serve in great images, who boast in their idols. Worship him, all you gods. Psalm 103, verses 1 and 2. Praise Yahweh, my soul. All that is within me, praise his holy name. Praise Yahweh, my soul, and don't forget all his benefits. Psalm 111, verse 1. Praise Yah. I will give thanks to Yahweh my whole heart, in the council of the upright and in the congregation. Psalm 119, verse 46. I will also speak of your statutes before kings, and will not be disappointed. Okay, folks and family, the song that goes along with that, if you go to the Superfan 30,000 channel, it's by Matt Redman, The Heart of Worship. And I'll post this link, the YouTube video link, in the description box below so you can click on it and listen to the Heart of Worship song by Matt Redman. Okay, folks and family, the last journal entry I have for you, May 20th, 2020 at 9:52 p.m. God calling Job from the whirlwind. Elijah taken up by a whirlwind and a chariot of fire. God calling Job from the whirlwind. Elijah taken up by a whirlwind and a chariot of fire. Let's go ahead and begin with the book of Job, chapter 38, verse 1. Then Yahweh answered Job out of the whirlwind. The book of 2 Kings, chapter 2, verses 1 through 12. Key verses 1 and 11. When Yahweh was about to take Elijah up by a whirlwind into heaven, Elijah went with Elisha from Gilgal. Elijah said to Elisha, please wait here, for Yahweh has sent me as far as Bethel. Elisha said, as Yahweh lives, as your soul lives, I will not leave you. So they went down to Bethel. The sons of the prophets who were at Bethel came out to Elisha and said to him, do you know that Yahweh will take away your master from over you today? He said, yes, I know it. Hold your peace. Elijah said to him, Elisha, please wait here, for Yahweh has sent me to Jericho. He said, as Yahweh lives, and as your soul lives, I will not leave you. So they came to Jericho. The sons of the prophets who were at Jericho came near to Elisha and said to him, do you know that Yahweh will take away your master from over you today? He answered, yes, I know it. Hold your peace. Elijah said to him, "Please wait here, for Yahweh has sent me to the Jordan." He said, "As Yahweh lives and as your soul lives, I will not leave you." And they both went on. 50 men of the sons of the prophets went and stood opposite them at a distance, and they both stood by the Jordan. Elijah took his mantle and rolled it up and struck the waters, and they were divided here and there, so that they both went over dry ground. When they had gone over, Elijah said to Elisha, "Ask what I shall do for you before I am taken from you." Elijah said, "Please let a double portion of your spirit be on me." He said, "You have asked a hard thing. If you see me when I am taken from you, it will be so for you, but if not, it will not be so." As they continued on and talked, behold, a chariot of fire and horses of fire separated them, and Elijah went up by a whirlwind to heaven. Elisha saw it, and he cried, my father, the chariots of Israel and its horsemen." He saw him no more. He took hold of his own clothes and tore them in two pieces. Genesis chapter 5, verse 24. Enoch walked with God, and he was not found, for God took him. Exodus chapter 19, verses 16 through 19. On the third day, when it was morning, there were thunders and lightnings, and a thick cloud on the mountain, and the sound of the exceeding loud trumpet. And all the people who were in the camp trembled. Moses led the people out of the camp to meet God, and they stood at the lower part of the mountain. All of Mount Sinai smoked, because Yahweh descended on it in fire, and it smoked ascended like the smoke of a furnace, and the whole mountain quaked greatly. When the sound of the trumpet grew louder and louder, Moses spoke, and God answered him by a voice. Numbers chapter 16, verse 41. But on the next day, all the congregation of children of Israel complained against Moses and against Aaron, saying, "You have killed Yahweh's people." Deuteronomy chapter 4, verses 11 and 12. You came near and stood under the mountain. The mountain burned with fire to the heart of the sky, with darkness, cloud, and thick darkness. Yahweh spoke to you out of the middle of the fire. You heard the voice of words, but you saw no form. You only heard a voice. Joshua chapter 4, verse 19. The people came up out of the Jordan on the 10th day of the first month, and encamped in Gilgal on the east border of Jericho. Joshua chapter 5, verse 9. Yahweh said to Joshua, "Today I rolled away the reproach of Egypt from you." Therefore, the name of that place was called Gilgal to this day. 1 Samuel chapter 6, verse 9. Behold, it goes up by the way of its own border to Beth Shemesh, and he has done us this great evil. But if not, then we shall know it is not his hand that struck us. It was a chance that it happened to us. 1 Samuel chapter 22, verses 17 through 19. The king said to the guard who stood about him, "Turn and kill the priests of Yahweh, because their hand also is with David, and because they knew that he fled and didn't disclose it to me." For the servants of the king wouldn't put out their hand to follow the priests of Yahweh. The king said to Doeg, "Turn and attack the priests." Doeg the Edomite turned and attacked the priests, and he killed on that day 85 people who wore a linen ephod. He struck Nob, the city of the priests, with the edge of the sword, both men and women, children and nursing babies, and cattle, donkeys, and sheep, with the edge of the sword. 1 Kings chapter 18, verse 12. It will happen, as soon as I leave you, that Yahweh's Spirit will carry you I don't know where. And so when I come and tell Ahab, and he can't find you, he will kill me, but I, your servant, have feared Yahweh from my youth. 1 Kings chapter 9, verses 4, 11, 16 through 21. But he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness, and came and sat down under a juniper tree. Then he requested for himself that he might die, and said, "It is enough now, O Yahweh, take away my life, for I am not better than my fathers." He said, "Go out and stand on the mountain before Yahweh." Behold, Yahweh passed by, a great and strong wind tore the mountains, and broke in pieces the rocks before Yahweh. But Yahweh was not in the wind. After the wind there was an earthquake, but Yahweh was not in the earthquake. Anoint Jehu the son of Nimshi to be king over Israel, and anoint Elisha the son of Shaphat of Abel Meholah to be prophet in your place. He who escapes from the sword of Hazael, Jehu will kill, and he who escapes from the sword of Jehu, Elisha will kill. Yet I reserved 7,000 in Israel, all the knees of which have not bowed to Baal, and every mouth which has not kissed him. So he departed from there and found Elisha the son of Shaphat, who was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen before him, and he with the 12. Elijah went over to him and put his mantle on him. Elisha left the ox and ran up Elijah and said, "Let me please kiss my father and my mother, then I will follow you." He said to him, "Go back again, for what have I done to you?" He returned from following him and took the yoke of oxen, killed them, and boiled their meat with the oxen's equipment and gave to the people, and they ate. Then he arose and went after Elijah and served him. 2 Kings, chapter 1, verses 10, 12, and 18. Elijah answered to the captain of 50, "If I'm a man of God, then let fire come down from the sky and consume you and your 50. Then fire came down from the sky and consumed him and his 50. Elijah answered them, "If I'm a man of God, then let fire come down from the sky and consume you and your 50. Then God's fire came down from the sky and consumed him and his 50. Now the rest of the acts of Ahaziah when he died, aren't they written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel? 2 Kings chapter 4, verse 38. Elisha came again to Gilgal. There was a famine in the land, and the sons of the prophets were sitting before him. And he said to his servant, "Get the large pot and boil stew for the sons of the prophets." Job chapter 26, verse 10. He has described a boundary on the surface of the waters, and to confines of light and darkness. Job chapter 37, verses 1, 2, 9, and 14. Yes, at this my heart trembles, and is moved out of its place. Hear, O hear the noise of his voice, the sound that goes out of his mouth. Out of its room comes a storm, and cold out of the north. Listen to this, Job. Stand still and consider the wondrous works of God. Job chapter 40, verse 6. Then Yahweh answered Job out of the whirlwind. Proverbs chapter 29, verse 12. If a ruler listens to lies, all of his officials are wicked. Isaiah chapter 26, verse 11. Yahweh, your hand is lifted up, yet they don't see. But they will see your zeal for the people and be disappointed. Yes, fire will consume your adversaries. Isaiah chapter 32, verse 7. The ways of the scoundrel are evil. He devises wicked plans to destroy the humble with lying words, even when the needy speaks right. Luke chapter 9, verse 51. It came to pass, when the days were near that he should be taken up, he intently set his face to go to Jerusalem. Finally, the book of Hebrews, chapter 11, verse 5. By faith Enoch was taken away, so that he wouldn't see death, and he was not found, because God translated him. For he had his testimony given to him, that before his translation he had been well-pleasing to God. Okay, folks and family, the Spotify worship song I have for you. In closing, House Fires, featuring Kirby Capel and Dante Bowe, Lift You High, live. House Fires featuring Kirby Capel and Dante Bowe, I believe that's the name, Dante Bowe, Lift You High, the live version. And I'll post both these links in the description box below, both the Spotify album link for that track and also the YouTube video link. Alright, folks and family, that's the Word for Today Part 5 for May 21st, 2020. Once again, the Word for Today Part 5, May 21st, 2020. God bless you all as you go about your day. Today is Tuesday, October 20th, 2020 at 11:23 a.m. This is Raymond X the Prophet, once again coming to you from my apartment living room here in sunny Ocala, Florida. God bless you all today as you go about your day. God loves you, and so do I very much. Take care of yourselves. Be safe. Love one another. Help one another as often as you can. Remember that Jesus Christ is coming soon. Very, very soon. Sooner than you need to think. So this is your day of salvation. This is your day to repent. This is your day to make it right with God. All you have to do is come to Jesus, confess your sins before Him. He will take you up, clean you up, make you whole, make you brand new again, and make you one of His own, either a son or a daughter of the Most High, a brother and sister in Christ. I love you all very much. Take care of yourselves. Remember that Jesus Christ is coming once again. So the judgments are here, the judgments are coming, and they're here now. Get ready. I love you all very much, and I will see you in the next video upload, if the Lord wills me so. Bye-bye for now. Take care. I love you all.